podcast. Why? Your Gemini 3 Pro thumbnails. Fix it now. Alex, hey everyone, welcome back to the Banana Thumbnail Podcast, where we bring thumbnails to life to crush the competition. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into a topic that's been on a lot of creators' minds. Why are your Gemini 3 Pro thumbnails failing? Absolutely. This is going to be a good one. I've heard so many creators say they feel like they're playing a slot machine with their thumbnails. Sometimes it hits, but mostly it's just, well, weird, right? It's kind of wild. So here's the scoop. When you type in a prompt and wait for that image to generate, you might get something that's technically an image, but definitely not a click-worthy thumbnail. Yeah, I get that. I mean, how often do you end up with something that looks like a fever dream? Exactly. We've seen it all. Floating cameras, strange text, bizarre color schemes. It's like the AI is trying to fill in the blanks of a vague request, and most of the time it just goes off the rails. So what's the actual failure rate we're talking about here? Well, it's pretty staggering. When you only use basic prompts, the success rate on the first try is only about 10%. That's a 90% failure rate. It's like trying to start a car with a dead battery. Sure, you might get a click, but the engine isn't turning over. Wow! That really puts things into perspective. So, what's the fix here? Great question. The secret lies in something called multimodal prompts. It sounds a bit technical, but it's actually pretty simple. It just means using more than one type of input, like combining text with an image. Oh, I see. So it's like when you go to a mechanic. If you just say, "My car is making noise," they're going to have a hard time. But if you record the sound and play it for them, they'll know exactly what's wrong. Exactly. When you use multimodal prompts, your success rate can jump from that dismal 10% all the way up to 80%. I've tested it myself, and the difference is night and day. That's amazing. So what's the best way to set up these prompts? I recommend a specific structure: target, audience, key, messaging, and visual assets. If you leave any of those out, Gemini 3 Pro has to guess what you want, and we all know how that usually ends. Right? I can see how that would lead to more random junk. So let's talk workflow. How do creators set this up in their day-to-day? Well, Jamie and I mapped out a workflow that saves a ton of time. The key is to treat thumbnail creation like a manufacturing line rather than unique art projects. I love that idea. So it's all about efficiency, right? Exactly. For agencies or creators producing a lot of thumbnails, this approach can cut the creation time by 75%. They go from spending 8 to 10 hours a week down to just 2 to 3 hours while actually increasing output. That's incredible. So what's the catch? Well, if you push the Pro model too hard, it can get wonky, especially in batch processing. That's why switching to Gemini 3 Flash can make a huge difference in both speed and cost. Oh, so it's not just about saving time, but also saving money? Right. Gemini 3 Pro costs about $2 per million input tokens and 12 for output tokens. But with Flash, it's only 50 cents for input and $3 for output. Wow, that's a huge difference. And Flash is faster too, right? Yes, Flash processes about 207 tokens per second compared to Pro's 132. So if you're generating a lot of thumbnails, Flash is definitely the way to go. This is all super useful information. But what about common mistakes people make when using Gemini 3 Pro? A big mistake is expecting a perfect result in one click. Real workflows often require 3 to 5 refinements. Also, many forget to define their target audience, which leads to generic results. That makes total sense. So what's the best way to ensure better results? Keep your prompts simple and structured. Use bullet points to clearly define your subject, action, background, and text overlay. The AI responds much better to that than to long paragraphs. So it's all about clarity and structure. Got it. Exactly. And as we look toward 2026, over 50% of agencies are expected to adopt these smarter workflows. If you're still doing everything manually, you might get left behind. That's a wake-up call. So to sum it up, use multimodal prompts, structure your requests clearly, and consider switching to Flash for efficiency. Perfectly said. Once you get the hang of it, it really changes the game. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of the Banana Thumbnail Podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.